According to Friday, July 25th spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Steffy Forrester offers Sheila Sharp a fantastic gift, and John Finn Finnegan will look for Liam Spencer's medical answers. Sheila will use crutches to limp into Liam's chamber at the Spencer mansion and monitor his recuperation. Sheila's visit will undoubtedly be unpleasant, because Steffy will still be present. Nevertheless, Steffy and Liam will express their appreciation for Steffy's courage at the beach home that day. In fact, when Sheila gives her mother-in-law a glimmer of hope for the future, Steffy will give her the greatest present imaginable. Although Steffy cannot be certain that Sheila will continue on the correct course, she is at least impressed by her most recent behavior. Sheila will hope that this might be a turning moment, based on what Steffy says in Friday's B&B episode. From Sheila's point of view, anything that could lead to her having a genuine relationship with Finn, and possibly even with Hayes Finnegan, will be amazing. At the hospital, Finn will investigate Liam's inoperable brain mass, and the procedure that allegedly cured him because he still has unanswered questions. Finn will access all of Liam's scans on his laptop and attempt to piece together the truth, because he still can't comprehend this unexpected recovery. Finn will come to the realization that what Grace Buckingham and her colleague performed was not feasible the more he searches for medical solutions. Finn seemed to be on the verge of discovering Grace's entire fraud, including the fact that Liam never actually had a tumor or undergone a life-saving operation. Taylor Hayes will decline to travel to Italy at Eric Forrester's house, but she will provide Nick Marone a tip that can help him in his hunt for Brooke Logan. Will Nick be pressured by Taylor to make a significant commitment and a major gesture? Taylor might inspire Nick to propose to Brooke, as we know he will soon have an engagement ring for her. Stay in for more on Nick's sad news, as spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful indicate that Brooke and Rich Forrester are still meant to be together. Friday, July 25th, 2025 spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful are available. Sheila Carter-Sharp is given hope in tomorrow's show. John Finn Finnegan's mistrust of Grace Buckingham only grows. In the meantime, Taylor Hayes suggests Brooke Logan to Nick Marone. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. What Nick Marone suggested. Nick is attempting to claim Brooke as his own, so let's start there. Since returning to Los Angeles, the sailor has made an effort to court and win Brooke over. The only thing Nick asks is that Rich Forrester be excluded from the equation entirely. That is a problem for Brooke, who is a professional businesswoman and a grandmother, yet she still has feelings for him. See what transpired in the most recent B&B episode by reading this. Taylor Hayes' proposal. In Thursday's episode, viewers watched as Nick visited Taylor. He hopes Brooke and Ridge won't get back together after finding out about the Tridge engagement. He does, however, want an alliance and certain guarantees from Taylor. Taylor is aware of the danger and the potential consequences. Taylor might make a compromise, though, given her anxiety and uncertainty regarding Bridge. Additionally, Taylor suggests to Nick that he pop the question. John Finnegan's research. According to teasers for tomorrow's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful, Finn will remain dubious of Liam's sudden miracle. Grace brushed off Finn's attempt to probe her. Additionally, Bridget Forrester finds it difficult to persuade Grace to respond to inquiries. Finn will be obsessed with figuring out the secret and won't be able to stop thinking about it. The hope of Sheila Carter-Sharp. Steffy is another. She recently told everyone that Liam wasn't the only hero of the day. Sheila also contributed to the rescue. The brunette informs her loved ones. Steffy acknowledges that, but he adds that he thinks the positive trajectory will continue. Although Steffy doesn't think Sheila has undergone true reform, she does give her credit for saving her life that day. Finn and Sheila might become closer as a result of missing Luna Nozawa. Fans, however, believe Lee Finnegan is covertly keeping Luna alive. In the coming week or so, we should learn more about what Lee has been keeping from everyone. On Friday, July 25th, 2025, which storyline are you most excited to see? Steffy had always been aware of how unusual her relationship with Sheila was. It was complicated, stressful, and coated with mistrust and years of suffering. Sheila's presence in her life was accompanied by an eerie recall of chaos and trauma that never seemed to go away. But as time went on, Steffy began to reevaluate the significance of harboring that grudge. Not because she wanted to forgive Sheila, but because she wanted peace for herself, her kids, and the man she loved. The thought weighed heavily on her. Finn's voice carried a wistful sadness when he talked about his mother. It was a quiet ache for something that could never be fully formed, a genuine bond with a woman who had never been a mother to him, rather than the kind of longing that pleaded for reconciliation. Something in Steffy stirred at that ache. Sheila was still a part of the man Steffy loved, despite all the hurt she had caused. Steffy was forced to face the complex web of her emotions because of that fact, which was unalterable and constant. As a result, it initially seemed ridiculous to her to give Sheila a gift. Why would she give anything to the woman who had harmed her family, who had manipulated her out of love, and who had left her with more wounds than words could express? For Sheila, however, Steffy wasn't doing it. This act, which was symbolic and honored the past without allowing it to dictate the future, was for her. Hours passed while she considered what the gift ought to be. Couldn't have no purpose. A hollow item would be a waste of time and money. Something that spoke to Steffy's identity rather than the person Sheila had attempted to mold her into had to be intentional. She thought about letters, pictures, and even a memento from Finn's early years. Every concept seemed overly heartfelt or intimate. Her intention was to provide understanding rather than affection. She finally decided on a memory book, which was blank, had a plain leather cover, and had the spine hand-stitched. In careful, steady handwriting she wrote, "For what could be if you choose it," on the first page. It wasn't pardon. There was no guarantee. It was a subdued and silent call for transformation. She silently conveyed that the story wasn't finished yet, but was hers to write by leaving the remaining pages blank. Steffy hesitated as she wrapped the book. The act of giving it to Sheila felt more significant than the concept. She pondered whether Sheila would make fun of it, misinterpret it, or worse, think it was a reconciliation. However, Steffy had accepted that possibility. The fact that she was emerging from under the shadow of hatred was what counted. She was demonstrating to her kids that power wasn't always a roar. It whispered at times. It was a challenge in and of itself to deliver the gift. She decided not to go by herself. Finn was by her side, silent and vigilant, a stabilizing influence. Sheila's expression changed from one of bewilderment to a cautious smile as she opened the door and found them standing there. Neither she nor Steffy said anything at first. Steffy held out the package instead. "It's for you," she stated simply. Sheila accepted it, her fingers quivering a little. "Why?" Steffy looked up at her. "Because the war is wearing me out. This does not imply that all is okay. But something exists." Slowly, with an inscrutable look, Sheila unwrapped the package. She flipped the book open after running her fingers over the cover. Once then again she read the inscription. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. She appeared uncertain, taken aback by the gesture for the first time in a long time. With a steady voice, Steffy stated, "This doesn't change the past. However, it offers you a choice regarding the future." At her side, Finn stood silently, closely observing his mother. He didn't explain or interrupt. He was aware that only Steffy was capable of doing this and that it had to originate with her. Sheila closed the book and held it to her chest after glancing between them. "I'm grateful," she muttered. The weight of 1,000 unsaid sentences was borne by the slightest item, which was hardly audible. They left quickly. There was no need to elaborate. There was nothing more to say. Steffy was surprisingly at ease as they turned to go. Sheila had not been healed by her actions. She had done it in order to break away from the cycle that threatened to recur in every generation, from the history, and from the bitterness. She had made a move that offered a fresh start for the future rather than rewriting the past. After returning home, Steffy observed her kids playing in the living room. The room was bright and warm with their laughter. Finn put his arm around her shoulder and sat down with her on the couch. There was nothing for him to say. His eyes were filled with appreciation, as if she were a beacon of light in a region he had always known to be gloomy. "This does not imply that I trust her," Steffy muttered. "I understand," he said. "And that does not imply that I have forgotten. You're not expected to." She put her head on his shoulder and nodded. "However, I want our children to realize that anyone can attempt. Even if it is unlikely, that transformation is feasible." "It is a gift," Finn remarked. "Not to Sheila alone. To everyone." She gave a small smile. It had been a modest gesture. A moment, a message, a book. However, it would affect them for the rest of their lives. Perhaps Sheila wouldn't occupy a single page. Perhaps she would be too preoccupied with her troubles to notice the gesture. However, that was irrelevant. The important thing was that Steffy had opted for grace instead of bitterness. When it would have been simpler to turn away, she had reached out. And in doing so, she had demonstrated something strong to herself, not to Sheila or even to Finn. That wrath and terror did not define her. That her ability to recognize when to give up the battle was more powerful than her ability to fight back. That love might be the most courageous gift of all, even in its most subdued manifestations.